David Chong-Hui back on the Mastodon bench as the three falls for Jet Howard.
But now I'm going to tell you something. Quietly, that's a huge three. Because that gives him a little bit more cushion.
Oh, a rejection on the other end. Jet Howard soaring on defense.
All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome into the first Michigan basketball post-game live of 2022-2023. I'm Dennis Fithian, ready to talk about the opener. Openers are always great, you know. In Michigan, with so many different players out there, and we had heard, you hear about these guys when, even before they commit, they're being recruited and everything else. And then, you see them in their high school clips, but it's not until a night like tonight where they have the maize and blue on. They did have an exhibition game that you may have went to, but that game, unless you paid for it, you weren't able to watch. So tonight was, and these count, towards your stats and everything else. And Michigan led by 12 at the half, and they end up winning it by 19, 75-56. Welcome in. Now, if you're out there and if you have any questions, you have any points that you want to make, go ahead in real time. I'll go ahead and put your thoughts up on the screen, and we can discuss what's going on with Michigan basketball right now. Michigan not expected to be the top team in the Big Ten. That's expected to be Indiana. But somewhere around 4 or 5, the projection for Michigan, where, they're expected. Now you can say, preseason, preseason polls and things like that. They don't mean a whole lot. And, I hear what you're saying. Indiana, Illinois, Michigan State at 3, maybe Michigan 4, and Purdue. So they're in the top 5. And, 2 years ago, they were even looked at as being a little bit lower than that. So who knows? But, the story of the game tonight, Hunter Dickinson led Michigan with 22 points, but Jet Howard, the freshman, Juwan's son, his youngest son, 21 points. He also had 5 assists, 2 rebounds, did Jet. And, Jet came on and scored in that exhibition game that I was talking about. He was pretty amazing. 8 of 9 threes in the first half. He had 22 points in the first half. You're like, well, that's an exhibition game. But still, he ended up with 30 points, and it did raise your eyebrows a little bit and have you looking at the opener tonight to see how he would do. And, he didn't disappoint. In, Michigan, there are a lot of things I think you take away from this game here. You get a little bit of a feel for the new players and how Juwan Howard and company may rotate these players in. And, the first thing last year, you had Musa Diabate and you had Hunter Dickinson, and there were a lot of people that said these two just don't work well together. You're 7'1", 7 feet down low, and, you need to not play these guys at the same time. Well, now you got Hunter and you got guys that can surround him, and hey, you watch that a little bit. I can see that. And there were some guys like Joey Baker, the transfer from Duke. Joey Buckets comes in and hits 2 out of his first 3 threes, and his shot looks pretty good. He's coming in. He was the first guy off the bench, and, he's spotting up and he's looking to shoot, and his shot looks pretty good. So, there's that. But Jet is somebody who can shoot it. Jet is also somebody who can put it on the floor and drive. He looks like he's an exceptional athlete, and he can also pass. I mean, he can do it all. So, the sky's the limit. Really, I'd say the sky's the limit for Michigan. That's a little bit premature in the first game, but the sky's the limit for Jet. And, I think we know what we're getting at Hunter Dickinson. Like we've seen it. Stephen Bardo was the analyst tonight. The former Fighting Illini player. He's worked for the Big Ten Network for years. That's what you heard there at the beginning with the play-by-play and the color call, thanks to the Big Ten Network. But Bardo mentioned a few times how good that Hunter Dickinson looked and how he was in better shape than he was a year ago. if I didn't hear that from Bardo, I don't know if I would have said that myself. I said it last year. I could see Hunter look different from his freshman to sophomore season, like in better shape. He looked like he had better wind, and he looked like the Hunter Dickinson from last year. He didn't look like he was bigger or in better shape to me. He looked like the guy from last year, and the guy from last year is pretty good. Last year, Hunter Dickinson, this is a guy that could be an All-American and first team All Big Ten. So you know what you're getting. So you start with that, and then if you can get players surrounding Hunter Dickinson, I think the first thing can you get guys that can shoot? And the answer to that is maybe. Caleb Houston was one of the highest recruits that Michigan had ever brought in, and it just really didn't click. We all know that with Caleb Houston from downtown. I mean, he needed to be a volume 3-point shooter, and he just wasn't for Michigan. It just really never materialized for Caleb Houston and his 3-point shot. But Jet, he could be the, everything that you wanted Caleb Houston to be, but he could be that kind of player. I mean, he can be that 3-point shooter, and so too can Joey Buckets, Joey Baker coming off the bench. So those are some things that jumped out immediately to me for Michigan. Now, I asked you what jumped out in this first game. I'm all about that. James is saying, yay, more than football. Awesome. Well, yeah, hey, James, we're more than football. We're basketball too. And Luca, he's ready for basketball, saying what's up. He's ready for it. Luca's saying that Doug looked like he has lots of potential. You're talking about Doug McDaniel. And, for me, Doug McDaniel, watching McDaniel when he was in high school, I mean, he's a smaller guy. He's 5'11", but the first thing when I saw him out there, I'm like, he's got the headband and he's got the hair. If you forgot that Frankie Collins had transferred, you might be like, oh, hey, there's Frankie Collins. He's got the same kind of hairdo and he's wearing the headband, and he's more of a diminutive point guard that was flying around. He's got a similar, and he's really fast. But Doug McDaniel is going to be pretty exciting. There were a few times, one of the first half, that I thought the Purdue Fort Wayne coach was going to get attacked because he wanted a travel. There was some kind of, I don't know, Euro step dribble type deal. It ended up not working out for McDaniel. But then later in the second half, I'll have to pull that highlight up. I can do that. I'll pull that highlight up. He had one of the highlights of the game. It was an around the back Euro step, and throwing it in off the glass. Pretty sweet play. Definitely highlight reel worthy from Doug McDaniel. He's got a live dribble, no doubt, live handle. I mean, he really can handle the basketball. So he was exciting. And then Jalen Llewellyn, who is the transfer from Princeton, who's Michigan's starting point guard, a little bit bigger, goes at 6'2", and it wasn't a great stat night from Llewellyn, but there were a couple plays in a sequence where you could see him, good handle, getting into the lane, and really there was one he made a spin move and made a pass, and it was a play or two before that he got in there and penetrated and made a nice pass. That's what you want from your point guard, setting it up there. So good from Llewellyn. He started in the backcourt with Kobe Buffkin, who, you could see he looks a little bit different. He's got a different hairstyle, but looks like he put on a little bit of weight as well. Not a great night stat-wise for Buffkin, but, he did have a jam. He didn't hit any threes. So 8 points total for Buffkin. Llewellyn just had 2. And then Terrence Williams, who also got the start there, TW2, 2 points for Terrence Williams. And, Terrence Williams is one of those guys that is, he's fire or ice. A lot of times he was last year, hopefully to get more of that consistency where you can see him and, scoring and, all of that. But, game one, that's how it ended up shaking out. Mentioned Joey Buckets coming off the bench, hitting some, 2 of 3 of his first threes. And and he ended up with 3 threes with 9 points. And then, Michigan with a 20-0 run in the first after, things were shaky there, and slapping a 20-0 run in the first and really never looked back, getting up a dozen at the half. So let's see. Lucas saying Purdue Fort Wayne could shoot, not a bad team at all. Yeah, I was impressed. When you got a coach, what did they say? The guy got a 10-year contract, and they didn't have their best player and scorer, who was a scratch in this game for a coach's reason. So we don't know what the situation was there, but you're talking about maybe a tighter ball game if they've got him. But yeah, he looked pretty good. Steven Osentoski, is that the wizard, the video wizard? He says defense was encouraging, could have been better on the perimeter, but PFW is a decent squad. Yeah, in the early going, it looked like the defense was kind of sticky, and then the announcers were talking about these guys are getting after it, and then there was like, ooh, open three, and then there might have been another one there. So, yeah, they're playing hard. John Howard's going to get them to play hard. The staff, this is not a team that's going to be sitting back and being in any kind of cruise control. Not with this staff, with Isley and Martelli and Sadi Washington. They'll be after him there. Let's see what Logan has to say. He says roster has some serious potential all the way around. Jalen Llewellyn, also a very good scorer. So I'm excited to see more production from our other players as the years go on. Great seeing the boys. Yeah, just great getting out there. Big Ten, I tuned in a little bit early to get it going, and all of the teams except Purdue, they're playing tomorrow. We're in action tonight. So, getting it going, talking about college basketball along with Michigan, the rest of the Big Ten as well. James has never been to the Chrysler Center for a basketball game since he's in a Chicago suburb. But hopefully if I get into U of M, I can go to one. Well, if you get into U of M, like you're saying, you're trying to go to school there, you definitely will want to go to basketball, football, basketball, hockey. There's all the sports there that you'll want to do that. And, the Chrysler Center is a great place to watch some hoops that I saw. I was not there tonight. I'm in the Peach Mountain studio in Washtenaw County doing the broadcast here, but it was mentioned by more than one person that was at the game tonight, how it looked like some improved lighting in the house. So something to look at. I'll go over some quick things. Here's some of the numbers to keep in mind about tonight's game. This was at the half. Hunter Dickinson, and I think this is what you're going to see. You're going to have Hunter Dickinson leading the way. You're going to have Jet Howard. I mean, this is a 1-2 punch. Dickinson down low, and then Jet Howard kind of everywhere, but certainly Jet Howard launched 5 threes in the first half. He is going to be a volume 3-point shooter. You can see the rest of these guys. Bufkin shooting from downtown for 3 times in the first half. Llewellyn with 2, and then the overall first half numbers. Baker came in, first guy off the bench. He hit 2 of his first threes, 2 of his first 3 threes. And then the rotation went with Terrence Reed Jr., who is the first time that I've seen him in a Michigan uniform. He reminded me a little bit. He's got a build like Joel Embiid. Like he's all of 6'10", and I know Embiid's like 7'1", but I mean he's a man child is what he is. He doesn't look like a true freshman. He would look like somebody would say, man, that guy's got to have been around for 4 or 5 years. The overall numbers in the 1-2 punch of Hunter Dickinson and Jet Howard with 22 and with 21. I think that if you're looking for something, you could say, well, is Terrence Williams, because he has been kind of streaky, you could say maybe he would be someone who you could see coming off the bench as a 6-man, maybe some instant offense. And maybe it would be Joey Baker, who definitely is a spot-up shooter. He did a little bit more than that, but, he's in there to shoot threes, and that could be something. I could see those two trading off back and forth. Other than that, you've got Llewellyn and McDaniel handling things point guard situation wise, and Terrence Reed and Jace Howard on that front line when Hunter goes out, replacing some of that size and getting it done there for Michigan. But, everything I think that you wanted to see, you saw from Michigan tonight. It was a success. If you're somebody that's just tuning in after every Michigan basketball game, I'll be here. And the next game is coming up Saturday. Trying to look and see if I can tell what time. 9 o'clock. A 9 o'clock start. I was going through the schedule that Michigan's got. They got a nice non-conference slate. A lot of big names in there. Virginia, North Carolina. And a lot of these games, you've seen it over the last few years with the way things work with FS1 and everything else. The 9 o'clock starts, 9:30 starts. If you like late night Michigan hoops, this is going to be your season. So after Friday's game, check it out if you like. I want to talk some hoops. We'll be here, and then the podcast is always available for you as well on the Maize in Blue Review. That's who we're a part of. Great to be here, presented by Rivals. So Michigan wins it. In the end, they started out on the right foot, 75-56. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk with you tomorrow on Good Afternoon Michigan Football. That's at 1 o'clock. We'll be live then. We'll talk a little bit about this game, but we'll also talk some Michigan football. And then the next pure basketball broadcast will be after the U of M EMU game. Amani Bates. I'm hoping to see a little Amani Bates action coming up on Friday from the Little Caesars Arena. Until then, Michigan wins at 75-56. Thanks for watching. Good night, everybody.